Sarah Martinez had always been different from other women her age. While her college friends were posting selfies and planning weekend parties, she was doing push-ups at 4 in the morning and studying military strategy. Her childhood dream wasn't about becoming a princess or a movie star. She wanted to become something that many people believed was impossible for a woman, a Navy SEAL. Growing up in a small town in Texas, Sarah was raised by her single mother, Maria, who worked double shifts at the local diner to make ends meet. Her father had left when she was 5, and Maria often told Sarah that she needed to be strong enough to take care of herself. Sarah took those words to heart in ways her mother never expected. At school, Sarah was the girl who beat all the boys in arm wrestling contests. She was the one who climbed the highest trees and never backed down from a challenge. Her teachers often complained to her mother about Sarah's aggressive behavior, but Maria saw something different. She saw determination and strength that reminded her of her own struggles. When Sarah turned 16, she started working out at the local gym. The owner, a former Marine named Tony Rodriguez, took notice of her dedication and work ethic. Tony had seen many people come and go, but Sarah was different. She showed up every day, rain or shine, and pushed herself harder than grown men twice her size. Tony became Sarah's unofficial mentor. He taught her about discipline, mental toughness, and what it really meant to serve in the military. Under his guidance, Sarah's training became more focused and intense. She learned about nutrition, tactical thinking, and the importance of teamwork. Tony never once told her that her dreams were unrealistic because she was a woman. During her senior year of high school, Sarah made a decision that shocked everyone in her small town. Instead of accepting the college scholarship she had earned through her academic achievements, she announced that she was enlisting in the Navy. Her guidance counselor tried to convince her to reconsider, telling her that the military was no place for a smart girl like her. Sarah politely thanked him for his concern and walked out of his office. The day Sarah left for boot camp, the entire town seemed to have an opinion about her choice. Some people admired her courage, while others whispered that she was making a huge mistake. Her mother cried at the bus station, not because she was sad, but because she was proud of the strong woman her daughter had become. Boot camp was everything Sarah had prepared for and more. The physical challenges were intense, but she had been training for years. The mental challenges were harder. She faced discrimination from some of her male colleagues who believed women didn't belong in combat roles. Her drill instructors pushed her harder than anyone else, looking for any sign of weakness. But Sarah refused to break. When other recruits complained about the food, she ate without comment. When they grumbled about early morning runs, she was already stretching and preparing. When they made excuses for poor performance, Sarah simply worked harder. Her determination began to earn respect from even her harshest critics. After completing basic training with honors, Sarah specialized in communications and intelligence. She excelled in every area and was quickly recognized as someone with exceptional potential. Her superiors began to notice that Sarah had qualities that couldn't be taught: natural leadership, quick thinking under pressure, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. For the next 3 years, Sarah served with distinction on various assignments. She was deployed to the Middle East twice, where her skills in intelligence gathering and communication proved invaluable. Her commanding officers consistently rated her performance as outstanding, and she was promoted ahead of schedule. During her second deployment, Sarah worked closely with Special Operations Forces. She saw firsthand what Navy SEALs could do and knew without a doubt that this was her calling. The problem was that women were not allowed in SEAL training at that time. But Sarah was patient. She knew that policies could change, and when they did, she wanted to be ready. Sarah spent every free moment preparing for the possibility. She studied SEAL training methods and pushed her physical conditioning to new levels. She learned advanced swimming techniques and practiced underwater exercises that would be crucial for SEAL training. Her fellow service members thought she was crazy, but Sarah had learned long ago not to let other people's opinions determine her path. In 2016, everything changed. The Pentagon announced that all combat roles would be open to women, including the opportunity to attempt Navy SEAL training. Sarah immediately submitted her application, knowing that she would be among the first women to try. The scrutiny would be intense, and the chances of success were extremely low even for the most qualified candidates. The selection process was grueling. Sarah had to prove herself all over again to a new set of evaluators who questioned whether any woman could meet the physical and mental demands of SEAL training. She underwent extensive psychological evaluations, physical fitness tests, and interviews with senior officers who had never worked with a female candidate for this program. Some of the questions Sarah faced during her interviews revealed the skepticism she was up against. Officers asked her how she would handle being the only woman in training, whether she understood the physical demands, and if she was prepared for the possibility of failure. Sarah answered every question with the same calm confidence she had shown throughout her military career. When Sarah finally received notification that she had been accepted into SEAL training, she felt a mixture of excitement and nervous anticipation. She knew that she would be making history, but, more importantly, she would be testing herself against the most demanding military training program in the world. The night before she left for training, Sarah called her mother. Maria cried again, just like she had at the bus station years earlier. She told Sarah how proud she was and reminded her of something she had said when Sarah was a little girl, that she was strong enough to do anything she set her mind to. Sarah packed her gear with the same methodical attention to detail that had characterized everything she did in the military. She included a small photo of her and her mother that she had carried through every deployment. On the back of the photo, her mother had written a simple message: "Believe in yourself, Mija. I always have." As Sarah prepared to begin the most challenging experience of her life, she thought about all the people who had doubted her along the way. She thought about the guidance counselor who told her the military was no place for a smart girl, the drill instructors who tried to break her spirit, and the colleagues who said women didn't belong in combat. Tomorrow, she would begin proving them wrong. The training facility was located in California, and Sarah arrived early in the morning with 23 other candidates. She was the only woman in the group, and she could feel every eye on her as they assembled for their first briefing. Some of her fellow candidates seemed curious about her, others appeared skeptical, and a few looked openly hostile. The lead instructor, a veteran SEAL with over 15 years of experience, addressed the group with brutal honesty. He explained that statistically, most of them would not complete the program. He told them that SEAL training was designed to push human beings beyond their perceived limitations and that only those with extraordinary mental toughness would succeed. Sarah listened to every word, knowing that she would need to prove herself not just to the instructors, but to her fellow candidates as well. She had come too far and worked too hard to let anything stop her now. As the instructor dismissed them to prepare for their first training exercise, Sarah took a deep breath and reminded herself of her mother's words. She was strong enough to do anything she set her mind to. The first weeks of SEAL training were a blur of exhaustion, pain, and constant evaluation. Sarah's days began at 4 in the morning with physical training that would have broken most people within hours. The instructors seemed determined to find her breaking point, and they pushed her harder than any of her male counterparts. During underwater training exercises, Sarah had to hold her breath longer than she ever thought possible. The instructors would deliberately create panic-inducing situations to test mental resilience. Several times, Sarah came close to passing out, but she forced herself to stay conscious and complete the exercise. Her fellow trainees began to notice that no matter what the instructors threw at her, she never quit. Captain Robert Hayes had been a SEAL instructor for 8 years, and he had strong opinions about women in combat roles. He believed that the physical and emotional demands of SEAL operations were beyond what any woman could handle. When he learned that a female candidate had been assigned to his training group, he made it his personal mission to prove his point. Hayes was a decorated veteran who had served multiple combat deployments and earned the respect of his peers through his expertise and leadership. However, his views about women in the military were outdated and rooted in prejudice rather than facts. He saw Sarah's presence as a political statement rather than a genuine attempt to serve at the highest level. From the beginning, Hayes singled Sarah out for particularly harsh treatment. During physical training, he would assign her extra exercises while her male counterparts rested. During academic sessions, he would ask her more difficult questions and criticize her answers more harshly than necessary. His behavior was clearly designed to discourage her from continuing. Sarah recognized what Hayes was doing, but she refused to let his behavior affect her performance. She completed every extra exercise without complaint and answered his questions with the same professional demeanor she had maintained throughout her military career. Her calm response to his harassment only seemed to make him more determined to break her. Other trainees began to notice Hayes's unfair treatment of Sarah. Some felt uncomfortable with his obvious bias but were afraid to speak up and risk their own positions in the program. Others began to admire Sarah's resilience and started to see her as an inspiration rather than an outsider who didn't belong. During a particularly challenging obstacle course exercise, Hayes deliberately sabotaged Sarah's equipment. He loosened the ropes on a climbing section, hoping she would fall and injure herself badly enough to be removed from the program. His plan backfired when Sarah's exceptional upper body strength allowed her to complete the climb despite the faulty equipment. After the exercise, several trainees approached Sarah to tell her what they had witnessed. They offered to report Hayes's behavior to higher authorities, but Sarah declined their offer. She explained that she wanted to earn her place through her own merit, not through complaints about unfair treatment. Her response impressed her fellow trainees and strengthened their respect for her character. As the training progressed, Sarah's performance continued to exceed expectations. She consistently ranked in the top 5 candidates in physical fitness tests and scored among the highest in academic evaluations. Her tactical thinking was sharp, and her leadership potential became increasingly obvious to everyone except Hayes. During a combat simulation exercise, Sarah's team was assigned a complex mission that required careful coordination and split-second decision-making. When their designated team leader was killed in the simulation, Sarah immediately took command. She quickly assessed the situation, modified their strategy, and led her team to successfully complete their objective. The other instructors were impressed by Sarah's natural leadership abilities and her calm performance under pressure. They began to discuss among themselves whether Hayes's assessment of her capabilities was accurate. Several veteran SEALs who observed the exercise privately told each other that Sarah had the potential to be an outstanding operator. Hayes's hostility towards Sarah reached a dangerous level during a night training exercise. The candidates were practicing stealth movements in difficult terrain, and visibility was extremely limited. Hayes positioned himself near Sarah's route and deliberately created a situation designed to cause her to fail the exercise. When Sarah approached his position, Hayes stepped out and physically grabbed her, claiming she had been detected by enemy forces. However, his grip was unnecessarily forceful, and he used the opportunity to make inappropriate comments about her physical capabilities. His behavior crossed the line from harsh instruction to personal harassment. Sarah's response was swift and decisive. Using techniques she had learned during her years of military service, she broke free from Hayes's grip and neutralized him in a matter of seconds. Hayes found himself on the ground, completely immobilized by someone he had underestimated because of his prejudices. The sound of the struggle attracted other instructors and trainees to the scene. When they arrived, they found Hayes on the ground with Sarah standing over him in a combat-ready position. The shock on everyone's faces was evident. They had just witnessed their most experienced instructor being defeated by the woman he had been trying to eliminate from the program. Hayes was humiliated and furious. He scrambled to his feet and began shouting accusations at Sarah, claiming she had attacked him without provocation. He demanded that she be immediately removed from the program and charged with assault on a superior officer. His reaction revealed the depth of his bias and his inability to accept what had just happened. However, several trainees had witnessed the entire incident and confirmed that Hayes had initiated the physical contact inappropriately. They described how he had grabbed Sarah in a manner that went far beyond what was necessary for the training exercise. Their testimony contradicted Hayes's version of events and exposed his unprofessional behavior. The senior instructor who arrived at the scene was Commander Lisa Park, one of the few female officers in the SEAL Training Command. Park had been monitoring the situation with Hayes and Sarah for several weeks, having received unofficial reports about his biased treatment of the female candidate. This incident provided her with the evidence she needed to take action. Park immediately separated Hayes from the training exercise and ordered him to report to the command office. She then spoke with Sarah privately to get her account of what had happened. Sarah's professional and factual description of the incident impressed Park, who recognized that Sarah had responded appropriately to an inappropriate situation. Word of the incident spread quickly through the training facility. The story of how the female candidate had defeated the veteran instructor who had been trying to force her out became the talk of the base. Some people were surprised, others were impressed, and a few were angry about the implications for their own prejudices. Hayes's career as a SEAL instructor ended that night. An investigation revealed a pattern of discriminatory behavior that had been overlooked for too long. His actions had violated military regulations and compromised the integrity of the training program. He was reassigned to a desk job and eventually retired from active duty under less than favorable circumstances. For Sarah, the incident marked a turning point in her training experience. Her fellow candidates who had witnessed her skills and character began to truly accept her as one of them. The instructors who had been skeptical about her capabilities started to see her potential. Most importantly, Sarah had proven to herself that she belonged in this elite program. The remaining weeks of training were still challenging, but Sarah no longer faced the deliberate sabotage that had made her journey unnecessarily difficult. She continued to excel in every area of evaluation and became a leader among her peer group. Her determination and professionalism had transformed her from an outsider into a respected member of the team. As graduation approached, Sarah reflected on everything she had overcome to reach this point. She thought about the small town that had doubted her dreams, the guidance counselor who told her the military was no place for smart girls, and the instructor who had tried to force her out of the program. She had proven them all wrong through sheer determination and unwavering commitment to excellence. Sarah's mother flew to California for the graduation ceremony. When Maria saw her daughter in dress uniform receiving recognition as one of the top performers in her SEAL training class, she cried tears of pride and joy. The little girl who had always been different had grown into a woman who was changing the world. 6 months after graduating from SEAL training, Sarah was assigned to SEAL Team 6, one of the most elite special operations units in the world. Her first deployment would test everything she had learned and prove whether her training had truly prepared her for real-world operations. The mission was classified, but it involved counter-terrorism operations in a region where American forces faced constant danger. Sarah's team consisted of 6 highly experienced operators, and she was the newest member. Initially, some team members were concerned about working with someone who lacked combat experience with SEALs, regardless of her impressive training record. However, their concerns quickly disappeared when they saw her professionalism and tactical skills during pre-deployment exercises. The team's commanding officer, Commander James Mitchell, was a 20-year veteran who had worked with the best operators in the military. He had specifically requested Sarah for his team after reviewing her training records and speaking with her instructors. Mitchell believed that diversity in skills and perspectives made teams stronger, and he was curious to see how Sarah would perform in actual operations. During their first mission together, Sarah's team was tasked with gathering intelligence on a terrorist cell operating in a mountainous region. The assignment required them to infiltrate enemy territory, establish a surveillance position, and maintain watch for several days without being detected. Success depended on perfect coordination and absolute discipline. Sarah was assigned to communications and technical operations, roles that matched her background and training. However, she also participated in all tactical aspects of the mission. When the team established their observation post, Sarah's attention to detail and systematic approach impressed her teammates. She anticipated problems and solutions that more experienced operators sometimes missed. On the second night of surveillance, the team's position was accidentally discovered by a local shepherd who was looking for lost animals. The situation was extremely dangerous because any alarm could bring enemy forces to their location within minutes. The team had to make split-second decisions about how to handle an innocent civilian who had stumbled into a military operation. Sarah took the lead in communicating with the shepherd, using language skills she had developed during her intelligence training. She quickly determined that he was not connected to the terrorist cell and posed no intentional threat to their mission. Her calm approach prevented a situation that could have escalated into violence against an innocent person. The team successfully completed their surveillance mission and returned to base with valuable intelligence that led to the capture of several high-value targets. Sarah's performance during her first real operation earned praise from Commander Mitchell and respect from her teammates. They had seen her remain calm under pressure and make smart decisions in dangerous situations. Over the next 2 years, Sarah participated in dozens of successful missions. She developed a reputation as someone who could be trusted in any situation and who brought unique skills to her team. Her technical expertise proved invaluable in operations that required advanced communication and intelligence-gathering capabilities. During this time, Sarah also began mentoring other women who were attempting to enter special operations programs. The military was slowly opening more opportunities for female service members, and Sarah's success had paved the way for others to follow. She received hundreds of letters from young women who saw her as a role model and inspiration. Sarah's most significant mission came during her third year with SEAL Team 6. Intelligence sources had identified a terrorist leader who was planning attacks against American diplomatic facilities. The target was located in a heavily fortified compound in an urban area where conventional military operations would be impossible. The mission required a small team to infiltrate the compound, capture the target alive, and extract without detection. The operation had to be completed during a narrow window when the target would be vulnerable. Any mistake could result in the loss of valuable intelligence or the deaths of innocent civilians. Commander Mitchell selected Sarah to be part of the 4-person team assigned to this critical mission. Her role would be to disable security systems and coordinate communications during the operation. However, like all SEAL operations, team members had to be prepared to adapt to changing circumstances and take on different roles as needed. The team spent weeks preparing for the mission. They studied building layouts, security procedures, and escape routes. Sarah used her technical skills to analyze the compound's electronic systems and develop methods to neutralize them without triggering alarms. Her thoroughness and creativity impressed intelligence analysts who had been working on the problem for months. On the night of the operation, everything seemed to go according to plan initially. The team successfully infiltrated the compound and located the target's quarters. Sarah disabled the security systems exactly as planned, and the team moved toward their objective without detection. However, unexpected complications arose when they discovered additional guards who were not accounted for in their intelligence briefings. The situation required immediate adaptation of their plan. Commander Mitchell made the decision to proceed with a modified approach that required Sarah to take on a more direct combat role than originally planned. She would need to neutralize 2 guards while her teammates secured the target. The success of the entire mission depended on her performance in the next few minutes. Sarah moved through the compound with the stealth and precision that had been drilled into her during training. When she encountered the first guard, she neutralized him silently using hand-to-hand combat techniques. The second guard proved more challenging because he was positioned where conventional approaches would expose her to detection by others. Using her technical knowledge, Sarah created a distraction by triggering a minor malfunction in the compound's electrical system. When the guard moved to investigate the problem, she was able to approach from an unexpected angle and neutralize him before he could raise an alarm. Her creative problem-solving had saved the mission from potential disaster. The team successfully captured their target and extracted from the compound without further incident. The intelligence gathered from the operation prevented multiple terrorist attacks and saved countless lives. Sarah's contributions to the mission's success were recognized at the highest levels of military command. After returning from the deployment, Sarah received the Bronze Star Medal for her exceptional performance during the capture operation. The citation specifically mentioned her technical expertise, tactical adaptability, and courage under fire. She was the first woman to receive this recognition while serving with a Navy SEAL team. The award ceremony was attended by senior military officials and members of Congress who were interested in the progress of women in special operations roles. Sarah's mother was again in the audience, watching her daughter receive recognition for achievements that had once seemed impossible for a girl from a small Texas town. During her speech at the ceremony, Sarah thanked her teammates, instructors, and family members who had supported her journey. She specifically mentioned the importance of having mentors who believed in her potential and the value of perseverance in the face of skepticism. She also spoke about the responsibility that came with being a pioneer in her field. Sarah concluded her remarks by addressing the young women who might be watching and wondering whether they could follow a similar path. She told them that the most important qualities for success in any challenging field were determination, preparation, and the willingness to prove doubters wrong through performance rather than words. As Sarah's career continued to evolve, she began taking on leadership roles within special operations communities. She was promoted to lieutenant commander and assigned to help develop training programs that would prepare future generations of special operations personnel. Her experiences as both a successful operator and someone who had overcome significant barriers made her uniquely qualified for this role. Looking back on her journey from the small Texas town to becoming one of the military's most elite operators, Sarah reflected on how much had changed. The girl who had arm-wrestled boys in elementary school had grown into a woman who had changed perceptions about what was possible. Most importantly, she had proven that excellence had no gender boundaries. Sarah never forgot Captain Hayes, the instructor who had tried to force her out of SEAL training. His attempts to sabotage her career had actually made her stronger and more determined. In a strange way, she was grateful for his hostility because it had forced her to develop resilience and mental toughness that served her well in combat situations. The military was changing, slowly but steadily, as more women proved their capabilities in roles that had previously been closed to them. Sarah's success had opened doors for others, but, more importantly, it had demonstrated that the military became stronger when it utilized the talents of all qualified personnel regardless of gender. Years later, when young female recruits asked Sarah for advice about pursuing careers in special operations, she would tell them the same thing her mother had told her as a child: they were strong enough to do anything they set their minds to. The only limitations were the ones they accepted for themselves.